Good afternoon, everyone. Uh, I welcome all the participants today on behalf of the Women and Young Members Excellence Committee of ICAI to the Sky High Symposium 83rd webinar on our theme of unlocking the new age opportunities. The chairman of this committee is CA Preeti Savlaji, who is also the chairperson of Sustainability Reporting Standards Board and vice chairperson of Valuation Standards Board for the year 23-24. The vice chairman of this committee is CA Abhay Chhajarji, who is also the chairman of Commercial Law, Economic Advisory, NPA Cooperative, and vice chairman of the Accounting Standards Board. All of us must be aware that we are celebrating the 75th year of the institute starting from July 23. As a part of this momentous occasion, uh, the institute conducts weekly activities and organizes various seminars across the globe for the benefit of the stakeholders, the members, students, regulators, and public at large. With a part of this celebration, we at this committee have organized today's webinar, which is being live telecasted at various locations at ICEI. Our today's topic, unlocking the new age opportunities. Uh, every one of you all will agree that pandemic has changed the way we function. It has changed the way our ordinary life has been functioning. And the new normal keeps evolving, keeps transforming. In this new normal, we have plenty of opportunities. We just need to identify and grab it to have an edge over the other. So, for this topic, what better than having a learned speaker with us today, CA Prashant Gupta ji. I'll give a brief introduction about our speaker today. He is a co-founder and CEO at Firmway. He is chartered accountant by profession, but entrepreneur by passion. He carries with him an experience of a decade in the domain of handling statutory audits, internal audits, and taxation of large listed companies. He's been previously working with NVC. He's also worked with an investment banking. He possesses deep knowledge in business processes and across various functions. With his passion of technology is the way he co-founded this present firm of his Firmway back in 2016. And he has been a strong person in building the base of this particular company, who is presently serving 950 plus CA firms and corporates. And his expertise lies in business process automation. And he spent years developing and working a lot in a lot of cases like this. So, with this brief introduction, I welcome you, Sir CA Prashant Gupta ji, to our today's webinar. And the floor is now yours. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Hetal, for the warm introduction. Hope I'm audible.
Yeah, sir, you are audible.
Okay, great. And thank you, Preeti ji, for organizing such sessions. And like it's something very useful for new chartered accountants, and where it can help a lot of young CAs who decides who embarks on deciding the part of their career. This is something which is very helpful. So that is how I guess with that I like to quickly start with today's topic and maybe take you all to how the new age opportunities are in today's world. And like Hetal said, the new normal keeps on changing, right? So there are things which were working maybe 10 years back, but today the things are different. So how you guys can take the benefit out of it, how you can stay ahead of the curve and not be the last tail of the curve where you are then pushed into a lot of things. So that is something which we can understand today. And predominantly, I have taken as a career of startup, which is something which was a few years back not much chartered accountants were going into. But today, we see that a lot of chartered accountants have also started going in that path. That is going to be the major aspect of it. So with this, just let me quickly share my screen, and then we can start. So let me know once my screen is visible.
Yeah, so your
Is
screen
it
is visible.
visible? Okay, okay, perfect. So, with this, we can start for today's session on unlocking new opportunities. So, few key points which we are trying to cover today would be new opportunities for chartered accountants. Specifically on startup side, then the entire session is going to be that in terms of how Indian startups are disrupting the traditional business versus the startups today. A few case studies to understand how the journey be, how is the journey, and how does a startup thinks differently. Key takeaways from Firmways journey. So it's also I'll also explain you more about our journey so that you can get real live examples of CAs how once they go into entrepreneur journey how it goes, and then we can have a Q&A session. So this session is going to be for about 15 minutes. So with that, I like to quickly move ahead. So definitely, I guess there are a lot of opportunities which has come up apart from traditional practices and traditional job which CA used to do in corporates from a tax perspective, from an accounts perspective, and then gradually going to become a CFO. Things are now changing a lot for chartered accountants, especially after the digitization wave. So the digitization wave has changed the way people do things, the way the accounting happens, the way the operations are taken care of, and gradually accounts is moving from a say from a cost center to how you can make it as a profit center, how it can add more value to businesses in decision making process. So because it should not be just a snapshot of your past financial performance, but it can also give you a lot of insights in your future if it is taken care at a real time basis, and if we use a lot of advanced technology which were earlier not available but today is made available to all of us. So that is how this entire thing looks like. So with this broadly we can start off. So I guess one things which we are have also gone through is digitization. So a lot of areas are getting automated. So the biggest innovation which has happened uh, years back was on accounting software. So that was something which changed the accounting forever when the accounting softwares were launched by the likes of Tele and everyone. So the way accounting used to happen over Excel or maybe over physical books, etc., was completely moved to accounting software. So that was something biggest thing which had hit this industry. And post that, there were not much development until recently when wherein GST came in, and post that again a lot of automation started happening, the way the invoicing happens, the way the GST happens, etc. So people who are very advanced in technology, right? I've actually come across a lot of chartered accountants who have started also understanding coding, right? They've started understand how the so it is not necessary for everyone to learn coding because that's not where our core lies. But that is where people are also going moving towards, because that's one of the biggest wave which is coming in as chartered accountants, and we should not be lacking behind in that. So you should be understanding how the tech works. People have developed so many use cases on RPAs, on bots, using, and they've started using AI, etc. in in multiple accounting automations. So the world is quickly changing. In fact, I have also seen people in the age of 30s and 40s also started adopting technology is one of the key factor. But the faster, since you guys are very new in this journey as new chartered accountants, this is going to be a very important area. Financial transformation is going to be one of the key areas where you can basically, based on your understanding of finance and your understanding of tech, if you can make a combination of both, and you can basically transform multiple accounts and finance functions for corporates, that is something going to be very game changing for the new generation, because that is where companies, so today I guess for the larger companies we have to the likes of Genpact, McKinsey, we have Big Fours who does this. But when it comes to the SME sector of India, when it comes to the mass businesses, we need a lot of people who can understand finance and who can understand tech, basically to empower the way the accounting, the finance happens for these businesses and how they can start getting more and more benefits out of it. So this is, I guess, one of the key area I like to definitely highlight. For you, you will come across multiple opportunities, but you need to keep on tracking which one suits you, which one you can you have a good hold upon, and then basically you can try and decide which areas would be useful. So that is broadly in terms of opportunities over chartered accountants in the digital front of it, as a digital transformation expert or a financial transformation expert can definitely be looked at. Uh, Another area is startups. So coming to this particular aspect, so many of you would be curious. We hear a lot of stories about how the startups are, how it is different, especially after the last 10 years and after the Made in India initiatives and a lot of supports by the government. There are a lot of startups which have started becoming very famous, right? We always hear a story that how on an overnight basis you can become a millionaire, billionaire from those lines. So this is an area which is very fascinating, but it is also very risky, right? So when it comes to starting up, and definitely, I guess at an initial years, like initial years of experience, you have an opportunity to have something like this. The more you grow older, the more your responsibility increases, etc., the lesser flexibility you have. So this can be an interesting path for you guys to explore in terms of startups, and whether as a chartered accountants, are you made, can you do a startup or not? When I say startup, it's more about a tech startup in terms of how it can be a scalable solution, which you can scale it up to at an India level and then at a global level. So that is something which is the topic for today, in terms of how basically this is an area where it would be, and how you guys can take the best benefit out of it from that perspective. So let us quickly deep dive into it. You can definitely write down your questions, and maybe at the end of these sessions, we can understand if you want to know anything about this industry and how you need to operate for, etc. But the way it sounds very glamorous from outside, it need not be in that stage. So you need to understand the nitty-gritties of startups before you take a decision. And that's what we'll discuss, like when do you should actually start up and not when you should not, right? So these are very critical, and you need to basically see that whether you will be a right fitted into it or not. So with that, let me quickly move into this aspect, like in terms of the first is what is startup, or what startups we are trying to cover in this session, right? So definitely it's a new business which you are starting, and it is mixed with innovation. So without innovation, what you're doing is a traditional business. What makes you different is if you can add innovation into it. Is that something you are doing is different? And it can be anything. It can be maybe the distribution channel, maybe the product you are building, maybe the tech is completely different, maybe the way you sell is different. So there are definitely innovation required in and all the fields, but definitely there should be a heavy innovation in the core of your offerings. Maybe the offerings should be highly different, etc. The third aspect is technology. So to make, the only limitation in traditional businesses are that it cannot be scaled up 10x, 20x, 30x, right? Because as a professional, we are based on the service industry we serve. Service industry is dependent upon directly on the manpower and the quality of resources, quality of people. So if you want to double your revenue, you need to almost at least almost around double your manpower, right? So that is the reason why it does not become scalable. And when technology comes into the picture, it is endlessly scalable, right? Today, maybe with one person you're serving one client. With technology, with 10 people you'll be able to serve 1,000 clients. So that is what technology changes, and that is why we are talking about a tech startup. And fourth aspect is passion. So it is definitely it is something which we all are used to it, we know it theory wise, we know this thing, but you need a lot of passion to basically start and basically survive and then grow. So this entire journey requires nothing but passion. Passion towards the problem statement you are trying to solve, right? Passion towards that I'm looking to solve this problem, and no matter what it takes, I will try my best to give it a shot. So that is what passion is. So once you have these four critical things, you can have the startup, I guess. And one critical aspect, which is generally not talked about, is financial stability. So when do you start up, it is very important to have financial stability, because this is going to be a growth journey where it is going to be very difficult, right? There are very few stories which can turn into maybe $1 million revenue overnight, but that does not happens in reality. And reality is very tough. So you need to have a financial backup plan created for you, maybe for 3 years, 4 years, and maybe it can go up to 5 years, 10 years also. So it is important. How do you sort out your finances? Is it through uh, funding? Is it through maybe a cushion or maybe support from your families, etc.? So that is another which angle which people generally ignore, but is very critical from that piece, right? So that is what makes you build a startup. So if you were to see just the disruptions, so many of these examples we would have seen, but say the way you used to run a cab, right? With the way a company, someone wants to give a maybe a taxi service, right? So you need to buy 8 to 10 taxis. You need to find drivers. You need to find people to basically funds to buy these cars, etc. Get licenses and all. And it was so cumbersome for you to grow. It cannot happen that you started a taxi service in Mumbai in one area, and then maybe you can overnight grow into the entire country and maybe the entire world, right? So that was something which is impossible for any taxi owner to disrupt, right? And when Uber came and when Ola came, right, that was something which was very game changing for this entire industry. So you don't have to own a single car, you don't have to employ a single driver on your payroll, and you can still own thousands and lakhs of cars, and it can be scaled across India, in fact across globally also. So that's the power of startup we are talking about, and that is something which is completely different in case of innovation. The way you drive things, no longer you need to get licenses from every state, every municipal corporation, etc., and all those things to happen, but it becomes suddenly it becomes something which is very, very different. So similarly, we had a disruption in grocery. So earlier, the way we used to have the DMarts and maybe the stores, the Kirana stores, and now Grofers came in, and then Zomato, Swiggy came in, and now we have Instamart, we have Blinkits, we have Zepto, etc. So wherein now buying grocery is changed completely. So this change does not happen when you see from a consumer perspective. From a business perspective, it's such a big change that you don't have to buy stores, you don't have to own stores, you don't have to own rent, you don't have to pay rent, right? You have to just get the customer, meet the customer customer give a order to you, and maybe from your nearest store, any nearest store, you can buy those groceries and give it to them. So that's how Blinkit works, etc. So it the entire, which was intensive industry, has completely gone ahead and become a kind of an order based and a instant just in time kind of a delivery system, right? So it's such a big change which has happened. And similarly, something which we couldn't think of when we used to start, but today it is something which we have now accepted, and many of us are getting accepted too. So whatever change you are trying to bring is not going to be easy. For example, Uber and Ola faced so many challenges when they started doing this, so many opposition from people, government, etc. But these things kept on changing, right? So they overcome those, and now the things are totally different. So that is what requires, that's where passion comes into it with those things. So quickly moving in terms of hotel services, the way we used to have luxury chains, we have renowned changes in chains across the country, but with say a brand like OYO, maybe Fab Hotels, etc., things are now completely changed, wherein you can now you have a comfort across India. You can go and you have a brand to look at it, and you still you don't own a single hotel, right? So all those things is something which has changed in shopping. Things have changed where you used to go to a mall and buy things. Many of them, a major chunk of it is now moved online. Similarly in food, uh, etc. So there are multiple challenges like in food industry, the way it has moved from the restaurant to now Zomato, Swiggy, etc., wherein you can now order from multiple places at any given point of time, and you don't have to own restaurant. So some things which you see is something which was very capital intensive, which was very difficult to scale. With the four component of innovation, technology, passion, and idea, you are able to build something which is a game changing, and which is something that changes everything every day, right? So it's we think it as an overnight journey, but when you go and read about their detailed journey, you will find that they've faced a lot of struggle. So coming to this, definitely as a chartered accountants, when we see, so these are different areas which have been automated. But when it comes to finance, finance is such a big area, and it is such underdeveloped right now from an tech perspective, that there are so many things can be done. You guys would have known about how the entire GST was automated, right? Because that was a mandate which came from government. So it became, there was no other options other than technology. But then there are so many fields today where the P2P automation, the order to cash automation, the purchase to pay automation, all the business functions which accounts team handle can today be automated and can give immediate insights to the business. So I'll tell you about that journey also, that how Firmway came up with an idea and how it was able to execute it, and how we struggled and how we finally got to some good results. So before that, just was a comparison between business versus startups. Like for example, Bazaar a few years back had 350 plus stores and located 100 plus cities. It had a valuation of 2000 crores, and it was founded in 2001, right? Similarly, on the other hand, Flipkart was founded 6 years later. It has zero warehouse, six warehouses and zero stores, right? So it has a valuation of 98,000. So it is almost 46x the way you 44 times the valuation what Big Bazaar has without owning a single store. And that is something which is something incredible which is there, and something which is totally different. And that is what you can make through a startup journey, that can happen through innovations, etc. But coming to that, second was in Meru Cabs versus Uber. So where Meru had 12,000 cabs on their balance sheet, but Uber didn't had a single taxi on their side, and still the valuation was huge difference. It was around $120 million versus here it was $62 billion, right? So it's a huge gap just wherein you, it's not that they both did different efforts, but it's just that the way they used the technology and the way they used the innovation, things changed for them, right? So coming towards that, these are definitely the good pictures about the startup industries, but a important aspect is also that 90% businesses fail in startup journey. So definitely you need to get things right, and before you make it. So you need to be very cautious about what you're getting into, but definitely that's a huge potential which you can have if you are able to get things right done. So that's in terms of the comparison. Uh, just because if you want to see whether you are an entrepreneur or not, this is a very good example to this was published by NESCOM, and in terms of how entrepreneur thinks, right? So you can see that it's a very good image where your brain should always keep looking for new ideas. The way you see any problem today, as a normal being, you will try to uh, be like questioning that why this problem is there or not having a solution. But the way an entrepreneur sees that with every problem he can see a solution, and that's how it's an idea. So you should always keep looking for problem statements. You should always keep generating ideas. Your eyes should keep looking for opportunities, right? So which are the opportunities which are there in the market, whether these problem can be converted into an opportunity, right? Not every problem can be converted into opportunity. That is also very important. Your ears should keep on listening to feedback, right? You should be a person who can take criticism well. You should be able to get more people to continuously give you feedbacks about how, and you have to keep on improving on that. That is something which will give you, that would be going to be a game changer. And your same out, you should be always communicating the vision, right? So as an entrepreneur, you never stop sharing your vision. So you live, breathe, and eat your vision, and that is how you need to be doing that aspect of it. So you should always be communicating, whether it is your employees, whether it is your clients, whether it is your vendors, whether it is your investors, whether it is your common public, whether it is your neighbor, etc. You should always be sharing about, that is what an important aspect for any entrepreneur is, right? Your heart it should be full of passions, where ideas will come into, right? You should be very passionate about things you do. You should always trust your guts. Again, it is an important angle where you should always have an instinct. So there would always come a scenario where you are not sure, you do not have a data. So that is something which I can also share in personal experiences. So every day, every week, you come across some decisions to be made, and you do not have a complete, say, you do not have a big team which can give you the pros and cons of everything, right? And you have to take some decision based on your instincts, based on your gut feeling, etc. And that is something which you should be very comfortable at, not at the start of the journey, but this is what you have to do. You have to take decisions faster, and you have to take it very quick, and you have to go with your gut feeling, and you have to try to see whether it works or not. And then that is how the entire you need to see whether these qualities are there in you or not, right? And maybe you might have 70-80% of it, 20% can definitely improve. But if you see that this is a totally opposite, then you should also know that maybe startups is not something which you are made for, right? So that is something which you should continuously keep looking at. uh, these are maybe one of the few startups which says that it is started by young people. The reason why it does not mean that the older generation cannot start it, but the way you think at the age, right? At this age, you can have a lot of ideas. When you start growing older and older, you start believing that these things can happen only in this certain way. You cannot. you do not are open to change. That is why maybe at Paytm, Flipkart, they started at an age of 21 to 30, 35 age. So this is a good age where you can basically, this age you are, maybe with 2 or 3 years, 4 years of experience, this would be an ideal age where in 24, 25, if you can start this journey, maybe because you will have some bandwidth before you get married, before you get more responsibilities, etc. Onto you. This is where you can explore this time to make something really big and really game changing for yourself. So the main essentials for success for a startup is definitely there should be an idea which you are working on, and it should be unique, it should be innovative, etc. The second most important thing is the team. So many people say that they can do everything, but that is definitely not possible. You would need a team, a very good team, basically to execute it, execute your ideas into action. So idea is the most simple thing you can say from that perspective to make a successful startup, right? So people, if when you go in detail and when you talk to investors and everything, you will understand that the value of an idea is good, but it is not very significant. Wherein they first check whether your execution capabilities, right? Whether you can execute things or not. So ideas definitely hold a value. You need that is a starting point for you, but it is a very small piece in the entire success factor. It maybe hold only 10%, 15% kind of a weightage. The second is the team is something which holds a bigger weightage. That if you have a team and you have a average idea, you can still execute it and you can make it a success. The third is business model. So many ideas look very good, that this is the problem which we will solve, etc. This is a big problem, everyone faces this, and I can solve this problem, etc. But can you make money out of it? Because at the end you need money to run the business, you need money to pay your team, right? So at the end you also need to see whether this problem can there a business model possible. In fact, there are many businesses who struggle with a good business model, with a good profitability, track to profits, etc. It can become a big problem statement, especially after the funding, the last 1.5 years. The way the startups have now started thinking that they cannot be only a valuation game, but it needs to be a business game also. And business fixing business model is very important. Another aspect is funding. So you need enough funds to run. The way I covered this point before, you need a good amount of funding basically to run the show. You need so it can be not necessary. It needs to be an investor funding or external funding. It can be funding from your friends, family. It can be your internal generated funds. So I guess generally there is a good belief when you call it as a bootstrapping. So as at Firmway, we really believe a lot of things, and bootstrapping is one of the critical area where the way we see that to make a business model, you don't need huge amount of funds, but what you need is something where you need to crack the business model. Can I make this? And that is where the way we started with the practice as well as the startup. So we were two founders, I and Vivek. So when we started this, and I was used to look after the startup, and Vivek used to look after the CA firm, CGS and Associates, and that's where we used to run revenue, and that's where we used to fund the company. So there are ways of getting funded, but you need to ensure that you have a fund flow, because without the fund flow, you'll not have team, you'll not have coders, you'll not have developers, and you'll not be able to develop things, right? So you don't have to just say that okay, okay, right now I need 1 lakh to get started, so let me get started, and then you don't think about the funding for next 3 years, because it's a long game you are going into. There is nothing which can happen. We should always never believe that today you start with an idea, 1 month you make a prototype of 1 lakh, spending 1 lakh rupee, 2 lakh rupee. Third month you go to an investor, you get a funding on it, maybe of $1 million, $2 million, and the game will start, right? So that's not the ideal way to think of, right? And you will not have the much flexibility also to take a lot of decisions and lot of areas to explore your the startup, etc. The solving the problem in an innovative way. So, but these are the ways you can do it. The fourth way is really very, you are very lucky to have that if that happens. That in 3 months you are able to get funded with a brilliant idea, etc. But don't never start with that aim, because then that is something which, if you don't get it, you fail in that case. And the last part is timing. So timing is also again a very important aspect over here, that you should be timing your product well. If you time it too early or maybe too late, you will not be able to get the opportunity to make it as a success, right? So with this, let me just take you through, quickly move to the next aspect, that before you do a startup, what are things you need to take care of, right? So these, I like to try and move quickly on these areas, because these are very, where you go, where you decide into going into it, these are going to be very helpful. But before you do evaluate any startup ideas, right? Today, you, every one of you might have some or the other ideas of solving a problem statement. What you need to do is, before you start, is plot your target audience, whom you are going to sell this software. So that could be an user, and that could be a decision maker or a buyer. So who is this going to be your buyer is what you need to look after for. What is the size of users, right? So that is something which you need to plot, whether they are a few users only, or there is a huge number of users which are going to be there. You're trying to solve a very specific niche problem, or you're trying to solve a very generic problem. The business size, what is going to be the size of your business, which you are trying to perceive, whether it is going to be a B2B or a B2C business, whether you're selling it to business, or it is you're directly selling to end consumer, which is B2C. And then your competitor analysis. Again, this is a very critical part, that who already are there in this industry, and it need not be a player who is doing that. One of your biggest competitor would be, for example, when we started this, we were into finance industry. And an amazing fact I like to tell you, that whatever in our industry, our domain, we do that, we have a interesting concept called articleship. And articleship is something where you work, you have very good resources, you have excellent people to work for, and these people come at a, you get a very small stipend, right? It is 5,000, 4,000, 10,000, 7,000, etc. But however, you get such a critical resource, and for 3 years. So this is very a different statistics. And whenever you build a product, maybe for the audit firms, right? That is something which we saw when we made a product for an audit firm. It always gets compared to an article's cost. So if say we were trying to build audit confirmation software, so it's a very good concept globally, but when it came to India, people were just simply comparing that, आज आज मैं एक आर्टिकल को बोलता हूँ कि वो जाके audit confirmation भेज दे, and he takes around 1 day or 2 days, etc. And the cost is maybe 200 for the entire activity. So that's the kind of things you're competing with when it comes to the finance field, especially if you're making something for audit firms. So you should be dirt cheap or and be competed with an article, right? So that is something which, the coming to this point, your competition is not only just the other players, but it is also the mentality, it is also the availability of resources by these companies, because then it becomes a very tough competition if you were to compete with an with articles. So it becomes really tough to do that. But this is what it is, and you need to have these things being there with you. So before you think of some ideas, you evaluate on these grounds and do that. So just quickly, I'll just give you a good synopsis about firmware before we end this session. So this is something which I'll try to share in terms of how our journey has been. So maybe there is something which you can learn out of it. So basically, just to give you a quick pitch, that we are India's first AI and ML based reconciliation platform that has completely automated confirmations and reconciliations with your customers and vendors, wherein we give CFOs the real-time insights into the two most critical assets for any business, which is their customers and vendors. So with this, basically, we give them a lot of power to get a connect with the customers and vendors and get insights into the business, and maybe help increase the profitability by another 8 to 10%. So that is a brief about us. Just a Yes, apologies. So that is what Firmway does, and in this journey, this is not something which we definitely started with, but this is something where we have reached over 7 years, right? So let me also share you how our journey had been. So this is something very interesting for you guys to understand how something which looks in theory and how it was actually implemented. So maybe I'll spend another 4 to 5 minutes on this. So we definitely started with an idea, and our idea was to automate audit confirmations for chartered accountants firms in India. So it was a problem statement. It was the second highest non-compliant standard. People were that was the second highest non-compliant standard SF 505, where people were not firms were wherever 1 out of 5 firms were found not following this practice, right? So we thought it's a very big idea. It's very good. Maybe we can make a good business out of it. It is people definitely have a problem statement. So we started with that idea. We did a market study. We got the feedback. Yes, it is a good problem to solve, etc. We started, so we thought of creating a prototype. Since we were chartered accountants, so we didn't knew coding. So we went out to figure out a developer who can build it for us. So we were looking out for in friends, relatives, some common connections, some people from online. We started looking out for, and we started meeting them that this is something which we have to make. What will be the total cost? The cost was coming somewhere around 10 lakhs to maybe 18 lakhs to 30 lakhs to 40 lakhs, etc., depending upon the quality of people. And we always have this doubt that we maybe someone we are making getting this made from can always go and buy or sell the software to someone else also. So that risk also to manage. So you need someone trustworthy to make this, etc. So having those struggles figured out, and we finally identified a firm who is also a new firm who wants to develop this. So that's why we did that. We found out a developer, and that's how we started building our solution. We gave him an advance of 1 lakh rupee, and we started building the solution. We hired a founding team that the market size, we calculated everything. There are, say, 65,000 firms, there are 10 lakh businesses. Maybe every firm we will charge around maybe 50 rupees, 40 rupees per confirmation. That was the price we were going to charge. So 40 rupees per confirmation we will charge, and maybe there are 60,000, there are 10 lakh businesses into 40 rupees into maybe 200 confirmation they are sending. So it will be $1 billion business. So that's how we started. We launched out this product. We hired the team, etc. The founding team. We did launch the product. Now this is the place where we basically got a first client. But that was definitely it was something amazing that we started it for audit confirmation, but it was a corporate who bought the solution and not the auditor. Definitely for audit purpose, but the client generally bought the software, and we were very happy where we got the client for 2,000 rupees, and we distributed our suites worth rupees 3,000 that way. But that was a different journey for us, and it was a big milestone. So after, you can see, after all these efforts and maybe a year and a half, we were able to get the first client. But then we understood, and came the time of pivot. So we this was a time where, because if you see, before getting this client, we would have done a lot of sales, marketing, etc., and we were trying to sell the solution for 40, and then maybe people started saying that, the idea is very good, we have a need of the solution, it is required, but we cannot pay you 40 rupees, because we ask our client to do that. We don't get audit fees to that level. We have an article who do this, right? And he charges a very less money, right? And maybe at say, and he charges us, maybe for example we pay him 60,000 a year, and not only he handles the entire confirmation, but he handles me n number of things also. And you are going to charge me 50,000, 60,000, etc., and you will only do this confirmation. So after building a solution a problem and having a great team, we failed because the price of the solution was very high. Maybe 40 rupees for confirmation. Definitely it is affordable, but it is not making a value benefit for the audit firms. And that is where we identify that we need to now change our focus from as an audit perspective, but more from a business perspective, where businesses can use this solution to get confirmation from their customer vendor and can get start getting real insights from them. So that's how we pivoted into this area, and it really worked out well, where we build the same solution was definitely useful for corporates, where auditors will only select a sample of 100 customer, vendor, and bank while doing this process, and they will basically then look out for but when it comes to companies, they can start using this solution for the entire population of 1,000, 10,000, 20,000 parties, and they can do it more frequently for a business purpose. That is where you have to see whether your product is going to add a business value or a compliance value, because compliance value holds a lot of it is very less people give a benefit or priority to. But if you can build a business product, it is something which is going to be very useful. So we had to then downsize, because definitely the kind of things which we have already built, we hired a team, etc. We were selling it extremely, and then we identified that this will not work, and then we had to downsize the team also. We had to ask few people to go, definitely after helping them get the pay and everything and helping get them jobs, etc. But then we had to do this because then we went into survival mode, because we already the funds which we have created, we have exhausted it, and we then identified this, and then maybe we started downsizing and then looking out of way to do that. And then we started sending balance confirmations to people. But we one thing which we realized in this piece was that you don't build what you think will sell. You build things which people want to buy and they are ready to pay for it. And that's where our entire solutions started coming from that perspective. When GST came up, we started with the GST reconciliation software. When then 194Q came up for deducting TDS on sale of good, we started 26 years reconciliation software. Then when people were saying that I am doing a confirmation, I'm sending it to 1,000 people, 500 people are saying that their balances does not match, so we don't have a staff now to reconcile it. So that is when we build a ledger reconciliation. Then all our solutions which started coming in is what exactly people wanted and how much are they willing to pay. And that is where once we were able to do that, we reached out to few fellow chartered accountants, and they are very grateful to help today. There a lot of chartered accountants are willing to help other CAs to who are starting this, and we were able to find 18 chartered accountants who invested maybe 4 lakhs, 5 lakhs getting done. And then was the journey of scale up. And today, last year, we were around 150, almost around 150 million revenue we had reached out that way. And today, I guess it is more than $300 million, 300 million rupees from that perspective. So this is how our journey been. Hopefully, that would have added, maybe given you some insights of how startup works, right? The story can be different for everyone. It can be a unique story for everyone. But this will give you a lot of things that there are definitely mistakes which are being done, which you can avoid maybe. And that is where it comes to the next part. Maybe I'll just another take. So just give you a quick belief that we are founded by chartered accountants. We serve more than 100 customers. 150 million revenue was last year. This year we did almost 300 million revenue. We have solutions in terms of balance confirmation, MSME confirmations, ledger reconciliations, 26 years reconciliation. We're serving 500 plus corporates and 400 plus C firms across India and Dubai. So yeah, this CA firm part of it, definitely we were able to crack it later on in our journey. That was an interesting piece, how we basically then made the price discounted by 90%, how we partnered with CA Institute. We gave a 90% discount to the CA firm so it becomes affordable, and how we made it as a marketing opportunity to reach out to these businesses and then ask them to send use this confirmation solution. So definitely your efforts does not go wasted, but you need to keep thinking differently to see how you can explore that. So that was an amazing part of our journey. So I guess with this, maybe I'll just skip these areas which we have, and maybe the last aspect is top 10 mistakes which we did. I believe generally a startup fails for because some we were building something which nobody wants. That is the biggest share, because the product which you see will solve the problem is not the right and maybe that is something which is the biggest failure. So before you go down into building something and starting something, you need to be really very sure of, create an MVP quickly, take it out to the market and ask them whether you'll pay for me for this or not. You don't have to ask questions whether this is a good product, it is solving the problem, you are go happy with it, etc. Because they would be, but you need to ask whether you will be paying me for this or not, right? That should be the blunt question you should ask, and you should that is something which you need to understand, that whether you're building something which everyone wants and is willing to pay for it. That's another problem we had, lack of focus. Whether there, because you will come across so many problems that you will want that I'll solve this, that, this also, that also, but then it shifts your focus and you are not able to become a master in that. So that is again another failure for startups. They fail to execute sales and marketing. They don't have right set of co-founders. This is another area to really identify a co-founder which is a good fit. It's kind of a wedding where you the way you identify a spouse for you. This is no less than that, where you need to identify a founders, because this is something which you are going to share your business journey with, and there would be definitely lots of ups and downs, and this is something where you need to stay strong, and you need to see that the team which you are co-founders which you are having is make is the fit for you or not, because and as a startup founder, it is a very tough journey. And if you're a single founder, it is really, really very lonely journey. And that is where it is very, very important to have co-founders, is what we believe. And that is where it will give you a lot of motivation to continue things, right? So that is there because you'll have something who have the same set of risks, something who is doing the everything to make it success. You have people to do that and really adds a lot of value in future. And not making sure you have enough money so that you might need to ask help. These are other problem statements, etc. So with this, I guess in our terms of key takeaways before we end the session, so definitely chartered accountants can also build tech startups. There are multiple examples. As new age entrepreneurs, you can definitely explore this. Chartered accountants have a lot of positives with them because they understand businesses so well. When you do internal audits, stat audits, when you do tax audits, etc., you get insights into the businesses, and you know from a management perspective, from a top perspective. This is a very difficult thing for any, say for example, if you're doing a BCom, you're doing a science graduate, you do not get a insight into the business the way you get as a chartered accountants. So that is something which, with your practical experience, with your education background, with your understanding of the various factors of laws, businesses, etc., becomes a very help. But there's also a flip side of this. Because you understand so many things, the risk so well, that we become afraid of taking it, and that is something you should never have. A business should always have a appetite for taking risks. So you need to, that is something which you'll continuously keep on thinking in your mind, where you have to take risk as well as you have to build the startup as well. So you have to avoid it also. And second is, don't wait for making the perfect product and start selling. So that was the mistake which we made with where for audit confirmation we took 1.5 year to start selling this solution, which didn't make sense because we were trying to make a perfect product. Because a chartered accountant, we want things perfect, we want things everything to be there in place, and that is something which we should not focus upon. Create a prototype, sell it, and ask people, are you willing to pay for me for this or not? Right? That is something which is going to give you a good validation at the start of it. Understand the paying capacity of your customers, whether they are able to pay or not, right? Like for us, when we started selling to CA firms, they definitely liked the solution, but they didn't had paying capacity for the audit confirmation software, and that is where we basically had to pivot, build what client needs and not what you think they need. So again, it is an important example of doing that. Don't do everything by yourself. Again, it is that I'm the one man army. I can do everything. I can do sales. I can do build a product. I can handle the business. I can handle the accounts. Everything is not possible. You have to create a team, or else you'll not be able to scale this up. Stay connected with the peer startups. There are a lot of incubation centers. In fact, ICI itself has, for promoting entrepreneurship, have started a incubation center. They did I can Rath Yatra for MSMEs and for startups, etc., where how you can basically create you can they can foster the entrepreneurship between the CAs, because that is something where you create a lot of opportunities, a lot of work opportunities, and you create something big for the nation. And have a co-founder, a startup can become a lonely journey, which I already covered. So I guess with this, I like to end. Apologies for stretching the session by another 5 minutes, but hopefully I was able to cover, give you a glimpse about the startup journey, about the various processes, etc., and the risk around it, and how you can make it a great journey. So that's about it. Maybe Ethel will have time for Q&A, or should basically.
Yeah, Prashant, we can have a Q&A session for another 2-3 minutes or so. We have a few questions which you can take up.
Okay, sure.
Yeah.
Uh,
Let me just read out the questions to you. There is one
okay,
question from Pradeep Chandra Agrawal who says, how to know which business is innovative to be registered as a startup business?
okay. So you are trying to understand from a perspective I understand is from a government scheme, the DIPP scheme, where you need to basically register as innovative. For I guess DIPP, it is very not very say they don't evaluate with lot of perspective from a tech perspective. So definitely tech is where you have to identify some problem you are trying to solve is scalable. So with tech, you can scale the entire solution. It is not that for every from growing 1x to 10x, you need to increase your manpower by 5x or 10x, right? Your employee strength should not increase. Still you can do more sales, right? That is something which will give you your business. And secondly, it should be innovative. So when it GST deduction, that deduction for the employees, right? That is where the government has some criteria in place. How you are driving the business, something where we received a notification where there was a similar company who had registered and maybe we applied, but they have not started doing the business. We were facing a lot of how we can do it, how we can do reconciliation orders, audit confirmations. So that way, that is something where the DIPP is a easier task. You can get that, but it should not be a traditional business. There should be a tech, a significant chunk of it. It is not that you are doing for operations, you are using tech, but for a business core product, you are using tech.
Okay. Um, I would come up with a second question from Ashwini, who says that how do you reach your clients which are corporate?
Okay, so this is a go-to-market strategy which you go GTM we call it. So you need to identify corporate first, what type of corporates you have, right? Whether it is an SME, whether it is a private limited company, a limited company. You need to know, you need to create a persona of your ideal customer, right? Your customer size. So wherein you the type of audience, the decision maker you need to reach out, the size of the company, the type of industry, the subtype of it, whether you're doing for manufacturing, then you're doing for pharma, you're doing for chemicals, or which kind of an industry you're doing it. So there is a complete check which is available online also for designing your GTM, wherein first you need to understand the customer persona. Once you understand the customer persona, you need to understand where does that customer comes, right? So for example, we build it for CFOs. So CFOs generally are people who are not very active on social medias, right? And you're not able to identify them much. Maybe on Facebook, Instagram, you want to run an ad for them. Instagram is not a definite a good place for running an ad for CFOs. It can be definitely LinkedIn, but again, how many CFOs are using LinkedIn? Whether your SMEs CFOs are there on LinkedIn or not, or they are whether they active or not. So you need to identify persona. So what we figure out is that CFOs generally attend this CFO award or CFO event, which happens every month in different places, right? So what we did is we started sponsoring this event, and we started having stall, we started having a presence over there, and that's how we started getting into it. So there are multiple GTM. Maybe once you find go through, you'll find a list of 18 GTM, where events, where mass mailing, where cold calling, then maybe a blog session, maybe a digital session, maybe a LinkedIn ad, social media marketing. So there are various ways. The only aspect to crack about it is to understand your customer and where he comes, and where he comes, that is where you need to be there to present him.
Okay. There are actually multiple questions, but because of the paucity of time, I might take just one or two. And I would request Prashant you to be a little brief on this because questions are pouring
Sure.
in from a lot of participants. Uh,
Okay, okay, sure.
yeah, so I would take up next question. I think this you have already shared, but Shreya asks that please share your business model and how much years you have invested. So maybe a quick run through you can do on that.
Okay, so our business model is where we sell our reconciliation software. So we build softwares for CFOs, and we build software for auditors. So our majority revenue comes from software for businesses, because that's where the maximum paying capacity is. So that is our, we have already invested 7 years into it, and we currently sell reconciliation software for manufacturing and trading businesses.
Okay. Uh, I'll take two more questions. I'll combine it. One is from Ashwini and one is from Vinita. So Ashwini asks, what is the perfect time to do business after CA? And Vinita says that how to start business in small city where there is not much scope. Maybe if you can combine and give it a good
Okay.
answer.
Sure, sure. So, right time for starting a business is, there is no right answers. There are definitely a lot of there is not a straight met to it. People have started businesses right after their dropout. People have just stopped their educations, and they have started business out of it. People have maybe after 30, 40, 50 years of experience also they've started the businesses. So there is not a right time, but what I can share is maybe a corporate experience is something which is very important if you can have that. So that is something which gives you insight. So if you at a time of articleship, if you worked at a good company where there's a team size of 30, 50, 80, 100 people, that is something where you'll understand a lot of things, that how to deal with people, right? Because you can build a business, but if you don't understand people, then and how to get work done from them, that is a activity which you need to learn people, because these people are working in some different company. You need to understand the corporate culture also well. So if you can learn fast, these are the things where you can do an experience maybe for 2 3 years, etc. Is good going to be pretty distant, but then try to learn as many things as possible from how to run a business, right? So that is something going to be a real practical experience for you. The second question, Hital, you said was
Uh,
the tier two cities, right?
yeah, yeah.
Maybe how where it's a small. So see, businesses definitely can be created anywhere. Now today you have digitization, so people are can work in remote areas. You need to but really see where your target audience lies today. If you see, one angle is also whether you start business in India or globally, right? Because people paying for softwares in India they do not value software much. People always compare it with cheap labor. But when you go to US selling this software, then definitely the kind of the market size, the people willing to pay is much higher. Maybe for same software we are selling in 1 lakh, we can get 10 lakhs over there. But it does not changes the question that definitely if you are able to sell in India, you'll be able to sell globally, because you have to crack that market. It is when it comes to tier two also, so your business model should be very strong, that you are able to match the capacity, so that once you expand to tier one cities, then definitely it can be there. So while creating this prototype, where doing the groundwork, etc., which reaching out to people, selling them, etc., can happen remotely. But I guess if your customers are there in metro cities, then it is a good choice to be there in one of the metro cities, or somewhere where it is a good cities, where you can go and meet people and you can sell them, because that is the only thing. Or else you have to have a travel budget included, that you quickly every week you go out and meet out people, because that is the only thing which is important, because employees are available today everywhere.
Right. So we have a few more questions, but I think for the paucity of time, and we need to start with the second session. So we'll try and take it up later point in time, or maybe with the second speaker. So with this, I would like to extend my hearty vote of thanks to our first speaker today, CA Prashant Gupta. Sir, you have taken us through your personal journey, given us your experience, shared your knowledge on that, and given a very practical aspect as to how a startup works about. So you've given us an idea about the digital transformation, innovation, the idea that the business comes up with, financial model, and everything. You said that the timing is very important for the startups, and I think the timing for your session was really important for us, because this is the time when a lot of young chartered accountants are still having a lot of questions, and you've have them run through this whole journey of yours with the experience. So thank you for your valuable time and knowledge, and thank you for coming on our platform today.
Thank you, Itil, and thank you everyone for this opportunity. I hope people definitely learn from this, and maybe they start or they don't start, either ways, but they take calculative decisions about it. And thank you.
Thank you so much. Over to you, Deepna.
Thank you, Hetal, as we go into the second part of today's session. But before that, I'd like to congratulate Prashant for what he's created as a startup, as a chartered accountant, going into the tech side of things, and a very novel approach towards his career. So, congratulations and thank you for sparing your valuable time with us today. And with that, I welcome our second speaker of the day, CA Bharat Jeswani. Bharat is a forensic accountant with practical experience and knowledge of investigation, digital forensics, forensic audits, and fraud risk management. His area of expertise lies in forensic accounting, financial disputes, due diligence, digital forensics, fraud risk management. He's into forensic accounting, fraud investigation, due diligence, internal audits, and fraud risk management for the past 15 years. He is also the author of the book The Frauditor, and he's a member of the expert team for drafting guidance note on forensic accounting and investigation standards, and a visiting faculty of ICAI, CBI, and he has also worked with income tax department assisting in search operations and special audits, and has been a consultant with the DRI. He has completed more than 80 forensic audits globally. So, with that short introduction, I would like to welcome CA Bharat Jeswani on the platform. Bharat, the stage is yours.
Thank you so much. Thank you, sir. Thank you for the warm welcome and a very useful session just before mine. I could not listen to the whole session, but I was there most of the time, and it was very intriguing and very interesting. I'll just share the screen and we'll just move
Sure.
forward.
Yeah, your screen is visible.
Okay. Okay, so as introduced, I am a forensic accountant. So what I'll be talking about is the opportunities that chartered accountants have in this specific domain of forensic accounting. So forensic accounting in itself appears to be a new area of practice, though it is, since financial frauds have been since forever. They have been since accounting, or since money came into being. Since then, fraud has existed. It's a very interesting how Chanakya in his treatise, he writes about 40 different forms of embezzlement. And if you look at them today, and if you read that text today, and you compare it with the type of frauds that are happening, they are just different permutations and combinations of the same frauds that he mentioned about, I think, thousands of years ago, hundreds of years ago. So the same type of frauds are happening now also, and that is what it is. But this area of practice has developed, I would say, recently, and it is still developing a lot. So there are new types of opportunities that are coming in that require special skills which forensic accountants can demonstrate. So what is forensic accounting? This forensic accounting is the specialized field that combines accounting, auditing, investigative skills to uncover financial irregularities, fraud, and financial crime. This is the definition. So, India has witnessed a rise in financial crime and money laundering, corruption, corporate fraud. And that is the reason why the demand for forensic accountants has been increasing. It is not just India. Globally, the demand for people with specialized skill in investigating fraud, people who can understand evidence related to financial crime, people who can write a report which would be acceptable in a court of law. Such demand for such professionals, demand for such consultants is growing, and it is growing rapidly. And we are at a very good stage, and it will only, we can only look upwards, because this is going only upwards. Very recently, ICAI issued forensic accounting and investigation standards. So ICAI is the first body in the world that came up with forensic accounting and investigation standards. Such detailed discussion on forensic accounting and invest. So it is the first body, and therefore we are shaping the whole profession. So it is very likely, and what I've heard from Digital Accounting Board is that many countries and institutes across the globe are actually willing to adopt the forensic accounting and investigation standards, which have been issued by ICAI directly. So that is actually a very big deal, because it takes the ICAI name across the world. And I was very lucky to be a part of the team uh, which was drafting the forensic accounting standards and the implementation guide. So I have closely interacted with the other members of the team, with the Digital Accounting and Assurance Board. And in my opinion, and of course it can be biased because I was one of the team members, the forensic accounting standards are written with such detail, and the technicalities and the practical aspects of investigations, forensic accounting engagements have been covered in such detail that it is a very praiseworthy attempt. It is something that the whole ICAI and all members should be proud of. So, saying that, we'll just jump to what is again forensic accounting. So, in my opinion, what forensic accounting there are many certifications available, our ICAI has a certificate course in forensic accounting and fraud detection. They are also coming up with an advanced course very soon for the same. So these certifications are available. Being a chartered accountant, I think we are more than capable of handling forensic accounting engagements and fraud detections, fraud investigations. And also now that we have this forensic accounting standards, it is like hand holding which is available for professionals, wherein you can, look at different aspects of an engagement, and you can perfectly know what is expected out of you. So because of these standards coming in now, whatever you do will be verified. Your report, how valuable will that report be, will be dependent if you have followed all the standards, if you have adhered to all the laws and standards. If that is taken care of, then your report will obviously have a very high value. So because again, as I said, because of the coming of forensic accounting standards, our profession, it has been a disruption in this specific area of practice. So what I feel is that there are many certifications available also with the ICAI. Then there are other international bodies like Association of Certified Fraud Examiners. Then so I have done CFE. I have done certified financial crime specialist. That's another course. Then there is certified anti-money laundering specialist. All of these courses are related to financial crime and different in different ways, because CAMS is specific to money laundering, CFCS is on different types of financial crime, CFE is only focused on investigations, fraud investigations, to be specific. So you can gather more certifications from ICAI or from other international bodies. They will definitely upgrade your skills. They will definitely upgrade your level of knowledge. But more importantly is, if you can somehow gather the experience, if you can somehow are able to work with some senior chartered accountants, or somehow are involved in forensic investigations, or other financial dispute cases, other type of engagement which we'll be discussing further. So if you can get that experience, you can develop those skills which are more important, I feel. The certifications are theoretical. They do expand your knowledge. They do help you think more broadly. They give you a vast image, broader view of everything. But still, I feel that the practical experience helps the most. Other than that, uh, your there are some very specific skills that are required, in most of the engagements. You need to be very creative, and it is not just the bookish knowledge that you need to be very creative. You need to be you need to think out of the box. You need to be very smart with things. So all these skills, and again, as I said, because as exciting as this profession sounds, it is very exciting, and I will not deny that it is extremely exciting. Every case is a new case. Every day we are dealing with real complex situations and very interesting stuff on a daily basis. So that is there, but you need to keep up, because you need to be aware of so many things, so many new types of frauds that are coming up, so many new types of methodologies, typologies that people are using to launder money. And you need to be aware, because those people who are involved in financial crime, they are very up to date. They are regularly researching. They are very quick to learn, because it is money. What the new they learn is going to be converted into money. So they are very quick. So it is expected out of the forensic accounting professionals also, that they are uh, in line with what the financial criminals are doing. They are also largely updated. They are also very quick to learn. So what forensic accountants are doing, they are, investigating financial discrepancies or suspected frauds, analyzing very complex financial data when you need to understand where the funds have been moving, network, when you do network analysis, you need to understand, you need to trace funds, you need to get the assets. So you need to trace the funds also. All these things are there. Providing expert witness testimony, that is another area. And then legal proceedings. Here, I have not mentioned the emerging areas. We'll be discussing them also in greater detail. Of course, considering the time, I'll try to wrap up quickly, giving you the intricacies and the more important, broader view of. Sorry, instead of giving you the intricacies, I'll focus on giving you the broader view of the whole process, and based on that only, we'll be talking. So you need to have a strong, being in forensic accountants, you need to have a strong foundation in accounting, auditing, legal procedures. So when you're investigating a financial crime, okay, so you will be looking at, obviously you'll be looking at a lot of financial data. So chartered accountants are the most well equipped when you talk about understanding of financial statement, balance sheets, profit and loss, all these financial. So chartered accountants are most well equipped. So that skill you already have. Okay. What you need to understand, which is the most, and I always say, which is the core of forensic accounting, is and you have to understand evidence. What will be acceptable in a court of law, what will not be acceptable, how to preserve evidence, how to gather evidence. All these things are the most important for a forensic accountant. Because see, this is a very wrong perception that people have when they think about forensic accountants, is that they look at them as Sherlock Holmes or detective who would just come in, look at the financial statements and tell them, where this is where the fraud is, this is where the manipulations have happened. But that is not what we really do. Because most of the times when we are engaged for investigating and proving or disproving fraud which has already happened. So the fraud has happened, fraud was done, it has been fraud has been detected, or there is some kind of suspicion. Now you need to investigate and verify if that fraud has really happened, and if it has, then you have to collect evidence and write a report which could be acceptable in a court of law. So this is what we do. So understanding evidence is of prime importance. So I was also again lucky to, when we were drafting the implementation guide for forensic accounting and investigation standards, I was the one who was drafting 320 FAIS 320, which is about evidence. So it is the most important standard, and it is also the most important aspect when you are doing a forensic investigation. So that is what you should be able to understand: the financial data. You should be able to understand evidence, and then rest of other procedures. As I said, you also need to be very creative, very skilled, because the financial criminals, they are very creative. Okay, and this also has a other side to it. So when you are doing, when you are a forensic accountant, you become so equipped with financial crime that you actually start thinking like a criminal. Okay, your thought process goes very naturally, and it is very important also that you should be capable of thinking like financial criminals, because only if you can think like them can you actually catch them. So that is, you can identify loopholes, you can identify anomalies, you can identify ways to evade taxes, or ways to structure your transactions across borders without being caught. It becomes very natural. It comes very naturally to you. That is something that comes when you get into forensic accounting and you start working on those lines. So we'll just jump to the type of areas of practice that are there. And the first one, which is the most common, is investigations. So all the forensic accounting investigation standards, all of them, they apply to investigations. They are specifically made for, investigations. They tell you how, what kind of engagements can you accept? How do you accept an engagement? How do you start an engagement? How do you get the resources? What kind of team is required? Do you need an expert? All, so you're aware of the account auditing standards. I think you should, if you intend to get in this domain, you should read the FAIs also. It is available with ICAI for free. PDF version is available with ICAI for free. You can download it. And if you actually take up an engagement which is covered under FAIS, then it is it is mandatory from 1st of July 2023. It has become mandatory. So anyways, you need to be aware of forensic accounting and investigation standards. So whistleblower investigations are like, I'm talking about corporate investigations. So mostly what happens is, I'm sure you're aware of who a whistleblower is. Somebody who, like an employee, could be an employee, could be a vendor, who complains. There is somebody who complains that there is suspected fraud. So when that happens, then you need to investigate fraud. So what I'm talking about here is corporate investigations, internal fraud investigations mostly. It is not always a whistleblower investigation. Sometimes an internal auditor is going through some sort of, they are auditing and they come across some anomaly or some pattern which is very unusual. So even they can initiate investigation, or somebody else can also initiate an investigation. It is not always a whistleblower that complains. What I have observed is, anyway, there are very few organizations that have a proper fraud risk management policy or whistleblower system that can be effective. So there are very, very few organizations who are actually working on this side, trying to help the whistleblower to complain. Otherwise, it is rarely I've seen, even very big organizations, rarely I've seen an effective fraud risk management system which could then help the investigations. So these are very common corporate investigations, whistleblower investigations. And that is how I had started my career. Also, most of the investigations that I have done are which have been I have been engaged privately by corporates or management of companies or other organizations, wherein they have suspected some kind of fraud, or they have received some kind of a whistleblower complaint, and then we investigate the fraud and write a report. So this is a very common form of investigation. Corporates could also go to an enforcement agency or let's say a police, but again, that does not happen always. Rather, it happens very rarely. The reason being because most of the organizations, they do not want it to become, let the news go out. Listed company cannot afford to. Even private limited companies, they don't want this image to go out that fraud is happening, because it creates a very negative atmosphere in the organization, even outside it. So they don't want that. Also, what I've observed is that they do not trust the police also with financial crime. For every case, they cannot engage specialized agencies like CBI to investigate. But so that is the reason why they need a consultant who could deal with the whole situation. So this is a type of engagement which is very common. How do you get such type of assignments? So it completely depends on your brand. So if people know you, you are capable of taking up these type of assignments, they will give you those assignments. Most of the assignments I've got, it's through people who have connected with me on LinkedIn, and they read my post and they are aware of my level of expertise. And I normally discuss real cases on LinkedIn, wherein my cases are as to what is, what kind of cases I'm handling. So from there, most of the cases have been, or I think it says my internet is unstable. Okay. So this is how most of the engagements that we receive on for whistleblower investigations. Another very popular type of assignment is which is given by banks, which is another type of investigation, which is for diversion of funds. So for banks, when they give out loans and then the borrower defaults and stops paying, so then banks would want to have an investigation done, wherein they call it a forensic audit. But again, forensic audit is not the right term as per FAIS. There's no term as forensic audit. So ICAI has made it very clear that audit and forensic accounting engagements are different. So banks would hire you to investigate diversion of funds, because if there is if a diversion of funds is proven, in that case, then they get it becomes a criminal act if the funds were diverted, and then they get more muscle power to recover the assets. So that is the reason why they engage forensic accountants to investigate diversion of funds. How do you get these type of assignments? So you need to register yourself with IBA, Indian Banking Association. I think they have an empanelment every 2 years or so. Recently, I think in August, they had an empanelment for it is for under 50 crores and above 50 crores. You need to register yourself with IBA, empanel yourself with IBA. Then IBA, if you get empaneled, they have some criteria. If you get selected, they will share the list of everybody that is empaneled with all the banks. So then the banks, then they float their tenders, and then you need to apply for those tenders. And if then the banks decide basically if you get an assignment. So that there's a lot of work, and I feel this is good work. There's some good engagements coming in, and good experience also coming in with these type of assignments. Similar type of engagement is instead of the banks, the resolution professional. So if somebody is going into bankruptcy or insolvency, and uh, they've hired an insolvency professional or resolution professional. So the resolution professionals need to ensure that the resolution or the complete insolvency proceedings, they are being done fairly. And for that reason, sometimes they need to hire a forensic accountant to ensure that the corporate debtor, the entity that is undergoing insolvency, has not diverted any funds or has not committed any kind of fraud. Uh, because if they have, then again the whole scenario changes. If they have somehow moved funds out with their relatives, or fraudulently if they move funds out, then the resolution professional and the creditors get access to those funds. For that reason, they need a report issued by a forensic accountant. This is again a good area of practice. So you don't need to register yourself anywhere. So it is just a resolution professional can directly get in touch with you and give you a forensic audit engagement, forensic accounting investigation. So that can be done by a resolution professional. Then there are corporate fraud investigations by SFIO, Serious Fraud Investigation Office. You need to, again, simply you need to empanel yourself. These are very good cases because they are investigating high value frauds committed by corporates, mostly private limited companies, but they're also investigating listed companies. So once you are empaneled with SFIO, then you can get engagements. In my experience, there are very few engagements. There are not too many engagements. Then there are again investigations by SEBI. So SEBI would investigate when there is a stock market fraud mostly. So they are investigating listed companies and stock market fraud, insider tradings. So it is very hard to get in the impaneled list of SEBI because the requirements and the criteria are really, I think, suited for very big firms. So medium-sized firms don't normally get impaneled with SEBI. And their investigations are also very high value and very sensitive and very interesting. So if you happen to get a chance to, and of course, see, as the value of these investigations is high, the fees also is in tandem. So it grows with the type of work that you're doing. So obviously, if you should always try to get the most highest value work, so you should always work on those lines. Corruption cases, FCPA investigations. Again, FCPA is a law which is a US based law, but it has global implications. So sometimes you'd have FCPA investigations happening in India also. So, and in Indian corruption cases also, that also enforcement agencies can engage external forensic accountants to investigate or to assist them in investigations. Income tax and GST authorities have been now they have become more proactive. They are now hiring external consultants to look into investigations. After even they have raided and they have collected all the data, they are looking for experts to make sense out of the data. That is also now becoming very common. Other than that, they're also hiring digital forensic experts when they are doing the raid part or the scrutiny. They need digital forensics to get the data, extract the data. So for that reason, also income tax and GST departments are very proactive, and you can of course always consider, the enforcement agencies will always have work. In income tax, there is also definitely the special audit, which many chartered accountants are generally aware of. So it is very close to investigation, and forensic accounting and investigation standards are also applicable to those type of audits. So then there are narcotics investigations because when there's this drugs and all they are involved, there is some kind of a connection to the financial also. So I'll just move quickly again. Asset tracing is a totally different specialized area of practice. Because what happens is whenever somebody does financial crime, they would hide the assets, hide it somewhere. And no matter what investigation you do, what you prove, it is totally ineffective and irrelevant as long as the assets that have been lost due to the financial crime cannot be recovered, which is most of the cases, because global asset recovery stands at around 7%. I think 5 to 7% is the global asset recovery. So that too, which is when you have all the enforcement muscle working for you and mutual treaties and all. When you use all that, with that, the asset recovery is very low. For corporates, it is extremely low. That is the reason we in general, we need to work on the asset recovery. So it is a very big opportunity. If somebody can figure out how to recover those assets, of course, you need a very creative accountant for that, who can help them trace the assets, because it is a very big problem area, and there is definitely a lot of scope for somebody intelligent to solve this problem. Risk management. Okay, risk management is another area of practice. Investigations are mostly post-mortem. Even asset tracing, asset recovery is post-mortem. Risk management is a more corporate area, which is on the prevention side, wherein you design processes and procedures to prevent financial fraud. So this is fraud risk management is again as a area of practice. Very rarely do we get engagements because almost all the clients, everybody believes that fraud is not happening in their organizations. So that is it is a very hard nut to crack. Whenever you tell people about fraud risk management, they will always feel that you're trying to sell something which they don't want to buy. AML compliance is again a new area of practice because now every country has AML rules, anti-money laundering regulation, and very strict regulation. So most of the entities like banks, especially banks and other, now even chartered accountants need to comply with the PMLA because you cannot. So in that sense, and it is a draconian law in India and in most of the countries. So AML compliance is getting a lot of importance these days. So that is a very good area of practice in itself, AML compliance. Just because if you can help banks comply with AML, help banks select the right tools and software so that they are AML compliant in their country, and you can do the AML audit also if their compliance is done properly. There is a lot of scope in AML. And if you want, other than being a chartered accountant, you should definitely do CAMS, which is Certified Anti-Money Laundering Specialist, if you want to excel in the AML area. So FCPA again, there's not too much work in India because it is the US law, and for that, but you need to some entities, multinationals need to comply with FCPA. So it is an area of practice, but I would not bet on it too much. I mean, I would not go for it unique, specifically just the FCPA thing, but it is there. Due diligence, again, now due diligence chartered accountants are doing, but it is slowly becoming a very specialized area because whenever there are mergers happening or somebody is lending somebody, the due diligence earlier used to be very basic. If there is any legal drawback, if there is some kind of case going on, that was the main area that was considered. But now, if the books that are being submitted or evaluated, if there is any window dressing, if there is some major manipulation, if there are hidden liabilities, all these things are gaining a lot of importance because after mergers, after like 3 months, 6 months, people get to know about some serious hidden liabilities, which can totally affect the valuation completely. And that is the reason why you need a forensic expert, a forensic accountant who can detect the fraud before your deal gets through. So this also a very important area which is gaining speed. Okay, litigation support, this is an old area of practice. When there is a financial crime case going on, you could be engaged. If you are writing a report, then you might be asked to give a testimony, or the court might call you as an expert to give your opinion on the facts that are presented. Court could also engage you to find some facts, to investigate. That can also be done by the court. So that is an old area of practice and very common area of practice for forensic accountants. Okay, fraud analytics is the new that is coming in. This is specifically for tax authorities. They are looking for fraud analytic tools wherein they can figure out where the tax evasion is happening, how is it happening, and already they are using many tools, but there is a lot of scope for improvement. Because you would have seen that if somebody buys a property, sells a property, you just get a notice for scrutiny. So the current analytic system is very, in my opinion, again, I could definitely be wrong, In my opinion, there is a lot of scope for precision which can be brought in. So fraud analytics can be used by tax authorities, then digital payment companies, businesses that have very high volume, like mostly online businesses, and even supermarkets, even they are using fraud analytics to identify if somebody is getting fake refunds or somehow inventory is being misplaced. So there is a lot of this. There are many books specifically on fraud analytics, and it is a very interesting area of practice. You cannot do it. You need some tech support. I think by working with some tech company, IT company, you could actually get some good come up with a good product and work in this domain. So other than that, economic loss calculations and specialized internal audits again with core focus on fraud detection. Those are specialized internal audits. Financial disputes, again, financial disputes in itself is one of the biggest areas of practice, which whenever there's a financial dispute now these days, people are hiring forensic accountants to figure out what really happened, what is the dispute about, what does the evidence say, where is this going to lead. So it is not a job of just lawyers or just chartered accountants. You need a forensic accountant who has the combination of these both. Somebody who is a chartered accountant who understands the numbers, and also probably a lawyer who understands evidence. So these things, for financial disputes, the best expert is a forensic accountant, somebody who understands these two areas. Cyber forensics, again, this is a new area, which is because most of the frauds are happening online. People are just taking money away from your account without you being aware. So, getting the digital footprint, trying to trace those criminals, and then collecting evidence, that is becoming a very big area of practice. I think it is still at a very nascent stage, and there is a lot of scope for this growth. If you enter this domain now, there is a lot of scope for growth in this direction. Financial crime litigation is another thing, which is it should not be new, but it is in a way, which I feel it can be okay. I think it would be okay. So financial crime litigation is another area of practice, which is, for example, I'll just give an example. For example, if somebody ED has raided your organization, and then they are now scrutinizing your books and they are investigating your books. So you need a consultant who could defend you. Okay, everybody deserves a defense. So you could defend, consultant would defend you. So this type of consultant has to be a forensic accountant who understands financial crime, who understands evidence, and who is capable of representing you. So this is a very, again, big area of practice, which is financial crime litigation. I think that is all from my side. Because I did cover it up a little. Yes. So I think this would be all. And I hope you did enjoy this session and it was useful. Thank you.
Yeah, Bharat. We'll take up the questions now.
Oh, yes. I forgot.
All right. Okay.
Yeah.
So first question I've got is from Anjali Ganotra from Faridabad.
Okay.
She's asking how to get that first opportunity. Everybody in the market is asking for prior experience in the same field. Basically, it's the cycle, the vicious cycle of experience.
So I will just quickly share my experience because when I had, I think not even cleared. Yeah, I had just cleared my CA, and that this would be 2011. and I did not have any kind of any other certification related to forensic accounting. But whenever I used to read a lot about fraud investigations and how fraud is being done and investigated, and I used to talk a lot about it to people. So that is how I got my first opportunity. Somebody had some suspected fraud, and then they got in touch with me. What you can do is these days, everything, all networking, all branding, everything happens on LinkedIn. What you can do is you can read about this stuff, and you can talk about all of this, so that people can understand that you are somehow and slowly becoming an expert. May not be an expert now, but slowly becoming an expert in that domain. So then what happens is, if you do that, then your people who are closer to you, or who trust you, or who know you, they won't mind engaging you for assignments. So it is always difficult to just engage somebody you don't know at all. Rather, if you know somebody, even though they may not be an established expert, but they have some good level of knowledge, then you could get your first assignment like that.
I think that's true for most fields, I would say, not
Yeah.
only forensic. Right?
Yes, of course.
Thank you for that. And next question we have is from Vikas Tarneja. He's from New Delhi. He's asked two questions. The first question is, does forensic audit also cover cyber audit in its scope? And do you want to take one at a time?
Yeah. So yeah, I'll just take this one. So again, forensic audit, again, I'll just caution you here, because see, it is ICAI does not want you to use the word forensic audit. According to them, it does not exist. But since we understand what you're trying to say is, again, every investigation or forensic audit, for that matter, it has a specific scope of work. Okay. Mostly when whatever we are doing, when we are doing any kind of course, for example, FAFD by ICI or other certifications which I spoke of, you are not covering the digital forensics aspect for in that, or the cyber forensic aspect in that. I as a consultant would normally hire another expert who is an expert specifically in digital forensics or cyber forensics whenever required, because I am not an expert in those domains. In my firm, that can be done, that is being done, but I only have the broader view. I do not have the working knowledge of specifically how cyber forensics has to be done, or how digital forensics has to be done. So it will depend on engagement to engagement. Whenever you get the engagement based on the scope of work, you can, there could be a requirement of digital forensics, cyber forensics, or may not be the requirement.
The second question that he's asked is, with so many frauds taking place currently and potential threats of phishing, why do we not have forensic audit as a part of the normal audit work, just like internal audit, etc., rather than doing this as a separate exercise?
So it should be, and again, I totally agree with you. Even with the financial statements, I'll just expand on what he's saying. Even with the financial statements audit that we are doing, with the current technology that we have, with the current resources that we have, we don't need to go for sampling. We don't need to, with the data analytics that is available and so easily available for the auditors. We do not look at the books of accounts from just one aspect, from one area. We do not, as even when we are auditing, no, we are not expected to. We are not, as they say, we are not bloodhounds. We are not looking for fraud. But with the current technology, with the current resources, we can very easily be the ones, and that is the theme of my book, which is the auditor, which looks at the auditor who is proactively looking for fraud in the books also. So it should be there, but currently it is not there, and I don't know why it is not there, because chartered accountants as auditing is a very old tradition which has come for the accountant family. Auditing is and auditing is something different. It was not meant to be an exercise where we are looking for fraud or investigating fraud. It was meant wherein, financial statements which affect many stakeholders. So an auditor would come in and just look at those statements and prima facie have a opinion if there is something grossly wrong or not. That was what auditing was. But they do not assume that the statements could be fraudulent or something fraudulent would be happening. Though with the current technology, they should. I mean, with such rampant fraud happening and financial crime happening, there should be the audit should include specific fraud audit, and that would be a part of the risk management exercise, I think.
Okay. So thank you for that elaborate answer. Next question we have from Chennai, Mr. S. Parmesh. He's asking, kindly clarify on what is the difference between forensic accountant and forensic auditor.
There cannot be, there is actually no difference. But forensic auditor is, again, there is no term which you can call forensic auditor. Okay. I mean, there is no valid term. It has been created. An auditor who is doing investigation is being called a forensic auditor. So this is actually don't worry about it. Don't worry about the words and the names. It is the same thing. They are doing the same thing. They are doing the investigations. Forensic accounting is a bit broader. Forensic audit, if we look at even if what that means, it is very specific to investigating fraud. Forensic audit. Forensic accounting covers a bit more. It also has, litigation. It has financial disputes. It is not always about fraud. For example, a financial dispute case where I'm saying that I need to get some from some another party. The other party says they need 2 crore. But we need to look at the facts, the contracts, and every communication, and then figure out what is the real deal here. So this is the work of a forensic accountant. So it is not when you're talking about forensic audit, it is specific to investigation. This would be something a bigger area of practice. Forensic accounting is larger, a bigger domain. But don't go for the words, is my suggestion. It is
Okay.
just confusing.
One question we have from Snehal Bharad from Bangalore. As a CA wanting to build a global career in forensic audit, is there any special certification or course that can be done?
Yeah, so I mentioned all of them. I think I have all the certifications that are there available in the world. So for investigation specifically, you can do CFE. First, being a chartered accountant, you should do FAFD, which is by ICAI, because you get the first basic level. You understand, and it is quite intricate. I mean, you get a very good detailed understanding. Then, when you're talking from the global perspective, then there is CFE, which is Certified Fraud Examiner, given by Association of Certified Fraud Examiners, which is specifically for investigations. There is CFCS, Certified Financial Crime Specialist, and there is CAMS, Certified Anti-Money Laundering Specialist. CAMS is specifically for anti-money laundering. CFCS is for all type of financial crime. CFE specifically for investigations only. So if you want to get into investigation specifically, start with CFE, and then you can explore. I mean, when you're done with that.
All right. I think that was the last question. Some repetitive questions, so I won't take them. But a lot of comments which are praising your presentation today and appreciating and adoring you.
So kind of all of you for listening patiently and all the kind words. Thank you so much.
Okay. So with that, I'd like to extend a formal vote of thanks to Bharat Jeswani. He's been very kind and explained in detail with all the areas and his experience of the past 15 years in the forensic audit field, which is, I would say, a niche field where not a lot of chartered accountants are presently involved in. So thank you, Bharat, for taking out your precious time and sparing your time on our platform. And thank you so much. So yeah, with that,
Thank you so much, Deep. And thank you so much, WYMECICA. Thank you so much for having me. Always looking forward for more interaction with others. Thank you.
thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. With that, we'll conclude today's session. Thank you, Bharat. Okay.